All right, guys, welcome. Thank you for joining us today. We are going to be discussing the changes that Cisco has made and what they deem as their next level certification program. These will be some big changes coming in February. Some of the changes have already actually shown up in the data center track, but we'll talk about that a little bit later on. We're going to try and limit this discussion to about an hour, but it may take a little bit longer than that. Hopefully you guys will be able to stick around till the end. We're also recording this session, and we'll be posting this session and making it available online for you guys if you want to review it later as well. Just a real quick introduction. My name is Scott Smith. I'm the founder and CEO of Think Tank Global. We are an IT consulting and training company based out of Los Angeles, California. That is my contact information. Feel free to reach out to me anytime you wish. If you have any questions about what we've discussed today or any kind of thing related to IT or certifications or Cisco in the future. I've been doing this for quite some time. I started as an engineer, got trained as an engineer at Texas Tech University. I went there for electrical engineering and computer science and was an IT administrator or a network administrator there, and that's kind of what got me involved in the IT field. Out of college, I graduated in 1996 and I went to work at NASA, specifically the Jet Propulsion Labs out in Pasadena, California as a network engineer, and was worked there for a few years, and then I left NASA and went to work at Cisco as an system engineer too in the LA commercial region. And then I decided to leave Cisco and start originally SAS Network Solutions, and then Solnovo, and then finally Think Tank Global. When I was at Cisco, I was identified as a Cisco Technology Solutions Specialist, particularly in the collaboration space, when collaboration was pretty big at that point. And I've been doing Cisco ever since, actually all kinds of IT related things. I'm not going to go through the whole list here, but I do have quite a few IT career certifications, notably many of them in the Cisco space. And so this was obviously a big change for me as well, given that a lot of these different certifications, well, essentially in essence are going away, at least at the associate level. So we'll talk about that. Feel free to chat, send a chat message if you have any questions throughout the presentation. We'll have a Q&A session at the end as well, but we have a relatively small group here, so we'll be happy to answer any questions along the way. So if you guys are participating in this webinar, then most likely you have at some point or another either had taken some Cisco certifications or you're looking to get certified and you're on that track to get certified. And this is perhaps, actually it is, in fact, one of the largest changes that Cisco's made in the industry, in the training industry, with regard to what they've been doing in the Cisco industry for quite some time. So a big question that I always get when I am approached about this particular topic is, why did Cisco decide to make such a drastic change to their entire certification program? And through various discussions with folks at Cisco, contacts that I know at Cisco, the common consensus is that they wanted to make sure that they were threading through this Cisco certification process all of the advanced technology, specifically with software programmability and automation, and they wanted to incorporate those things in these new certifications. This is something that they've been trying to do for quite some time, and over time they've actually incorporated, even though the content necessarily hasn't changed for the course, they've incorporated these types of questions in their exams and so on as part of the process. But this is a big change. I mean, Cisco has been doing their certification program for nearly 20 years. Over 1.7 million certified individuals with 3 million different certifications. Obviously, individuals like myself having multiple certifications. But this is by far one of the biggest changes that Cisco has done. So we wanted to take some time for you guys and for all of our clients as well to highlight what's happening with the current portfolio with the CCNA, the CCNP, the CCIE programs. But there is another aspect to this whole process, which is that the Cisco programs needed to evolve to the next level to introduce new features and technologies, specifically in the automation and software development areas, and kind of marry those concepts with the traditional certification environment so that they could complement each other and incorporate those aspects. I just did, in fact, a CCNP routing and switching training camp last week, and throughout the course, I'm telling the students, this course was published in 2014. This official Cisco course, this is the latest version. Well, a lot has changed since 2014. So I think that these changes will kind of reflect the landscape of what we see with software-defined networking and programmability in the IT space today. And that's really what Cisco has done in this case. They've evolved this new certification portfolio. It's more streamlined. We'll talk about that as we go through this presentation. With the certifications they've created, there's a lot more modularity. That's going to add a lot of agility for you guys as professionals, IT professionals, to be able to selectively identify what types of certifications and specialties that you want to achieve as part of the process of getting certified. So in essence, you're now able to create a tailored journey for yourself so you get more value out of the certification because it means something more to you as an individual, because you can say, hey, this is what I'm an expert in, this is what I'm doing, this is part of my job, and these certifications are directly related to that environment. It gives you opportunity, of course, for more leadership opportunities as well, because you're getting the certifications that you actually want, and that will make you look like a professional, a technologist in that particular field, and it's going to obviously incorporate additional value for your employers as well. So the idea here is that Cisco has really kind of tailored the program to provide more effectiveness towards the certification community. And in the end, this modularity allows us to add new concentration certifications in our portfolio as an IT training company, but also allows Cisco to add these new concentration certifications and modify them as needed. The technology core exams won't change, but as new technology rolls out, they can create or incorporate these new technological advances or these technology certifications as part of the tracks that they might be relevant to. All right, and really the main thing, I think, and we'll get into the technical details here, but Cisco really wanted to recognize the emerging technologies. They wanted to make sure that to emphasize the software programmability skills, and Cisco really has provided a lot of different opportunities now, or will as these changes continue, for people to learn about those applications, keep their certifications fresh, and so on. But don't worry, at the same time that they're making all these changes, Cisco wants to make sure that you as a certified individual, that you can bring those current certifications that you have along. You'll get the equivalency of those certifications. We'll talk about that as part of our discussion today, because those aren't going to go away necessarily. So you're going to get recognition for those accomplishments that you've worked over several years to achieve. But again, the whole idea is that this is going to provide you more opportunities to learn, get new credentials, and also take a look at different technologies as they become available. All right. So these are some of the highlights. We will go into some detail here. We could probably spend a few hours talking about this particular topic, but we're not going to do that. We're going to reference or refer you guys to cisco.com to see a lot of the details, like the exam topics and whatnot that are related to each of the technology core exams and the specialty exams. But one of the biggest changes, I think, in this particular program is the introduction of the certified DevNet associate, DevNet specialist, and professional level certifications. There is a plan as well to incorporate some sort of expert level DevNet certification in the future. Doesn't currently exist, but it is something that's definitely on the roadmap. We'll talk a little bit more about what the DevNet component is, and I'll give you some resources that you can go look at to be able to get more information about that. Another change, which has always been somewhat of a concern for people in the past is there are no more prerequisites for any certification at the associate and professional levels, which is an excellent approach. In the past, if you wanted to get a CCNA security, if you wanted to get a CCNP security, you had to have a CCNA security. If you wanted to get a CCNP collaboration, you'd had to have a CCNA collaboration, which seemed a little bit redundant, right? Because certainly whatever you're going to learn at the associate level, you're going to learn at the professional level. So now we have clients that have lots of experience. They're looking to kind of jump right into the professional level certifications. They're not required to go and take a CCNA level certification to be able to get their professional level certification. So that's a big change. Another big change is the ability for continuing education for everybody. This was something that was introduced at the CCIE level not too long ago for those pursuing or in need of maintaining their Cisco Certified Internetwork Expert certification. But now it's an option that's available for all levels of certification within Cisco. And we'll talk more about those details as we go throughout the rest of these slides as well. But the continuing education option, which is frankly something that's been available with a lot of IT vendors over the years, is fairly new to Cisco, especially at the associate and professional levels. All right. Recognition for completing training courses. This is really a big key because in the past, if you wanted to get an associate level certification, typically that was one exam, unless you were doing, say, CCNA Collaboration or CCNA Data Center, where it might take multiple exams to achieve that certification. In the meantime, as you're going through the process of, say, doing CICD or CIVND for CCNA Collaboration, if you were to take a CICD course and pass the CICD exam, implementing Cisco collaboration devices, it didn't really hold any value. Yeah, you had the score report, but you didn't really see any value in that passing that exam because you weren't going to get certified until you completed the second part, which was CIVND. So, and this was also something that applied at the professional level, where you might start your journey to become a CCNP security certified professional, which required 4 different exams, but as you passed each of those exams, you basically got a score, and you didn't get any kind of specialty, you didn't get any kind of certification. Now with the program, every single exam results in some sort of badge or some sort of certification, regardless of whatever that exam is. If you're going in the CCNP Enterprise track and you take a wireless specialty exam, you're going to get a wireless specialty badge, even if you haven't completed your CCNP Enterprise Core exam for your CCNP Enterprise. So that's an excellent way of identifying the progress that you make as you go through your certification journey. You're not just getting a score report, you're actually getting a certification on top of that, a specialty. Also, those specialties are good for 3 years. In the past, they've only been good for a couple of years. Consolidated and updated CCNA training and certification. I won't interject my opinions on this topic necessarily, but I will mention that the consolidated CCNA is always has been one thing that people have asked about the most, right? Because you're taking courses like CCNA routing and switching, CCNA security, CCNA wireless, CCNA data center, CCNA service provider, CCNA industrial, CCNA, well, there's a bunch of them, right? And you're taking all of these courses, in essence getting rid of them, and you're incorporating all of this knowledge into one CCNA. We'll talk more about that a little bit later on in this section here, but it's the idea behind, or the thought process behind this move, because certainly we're not going to be able to incorporate that vast amount of knowledge that was in all of these separate CCNA courses into one all-encompassing CCNA. The exam is going to be more difficult, it's going to be longer, it's certainly going to cover a larger breadth of topics, but the idea from Cisco's perspective is, look, we want you to be a general technologist at the CCNA level. We want you to understand technology from an associate level perspective. You have a good understanding of what technology exists, how it might be employed or applied in the environment. But if you truly want to become a senior technologist or an engineer, you're going to move into the professional level certification tracks. So a lot of the concentrations are done at the professional level, and the CCNA becomes more of a technologist type of certification, generalist, if you will. And that's probably, I would say, the biggest pushback, I think, from the industry, from certified individuals, that this generalization of this, what used to be a wide range of certifications, might have less of a value or less of an impact. We'll talk more about that a little bit later on too. Okay. The other major change is that you now have your choice of concentration exams at the professional level. Every single professional level certification, we'll go through the details of those later on, but every single professional level certification is going to have a technology core exam, these are basically the fundamental components of that vertical or that technology that you're going to have to know in order to be certified as a professional in that space. However, each of these technologies, security or collaboration or data center or routing and switching, or enterprise, I should say, are going to have many, many different specializations, and they'll continue to add them as we grow. And these specialties are going to be focused in different technological areas. So my CCNP Enterprise, which will include maybe a technology core and maybe an advanced routing option, might be different than your CCNP Enterprise because you're more focused on the wireless side. So you'll take a couple of specialties on the wireless side to achieve your CCNP Enterprise certification. And this is what Cisco was really pushing towards, to get this tailored approach and customized approach to your certification, so that you could apply what your needs are to the certification process. You might not necessarily have to know a lot about BGP or service provider routing components, so you're not going to take the advanced routing specialty, but you're involved in implementing unified wireless or converged wireless in your environment, so you're going to take the wireless specialty. And that's a big change. I think it's a huge change. It's a positive change, and I think it's going to make a big impact for the individuals that are looking to go to the professional level. Okay, very, very much streamlined certification paths as well. In the past, if you wanted to get a let's say a CCDP, design professional, you would have to have a CCDA at the associate level. You would have to have a route and switch exam that passed, which is part of the CCNP routing and switching track. And then finally, you could take the CCDP exam, which would then give you that design professional certification. And this is the way it was with a lot of the different certifications. Data center, for example, was a huge investment because you had 2 different exams at the associate level that you had to take, plus 4 separate exams at the professional level that you had to take, which in the end would be a very expensive proposition. Assuming that you passed all those exams the first time and you did self-study, at a minimum, you're looking at $300 times 6 to be able to get through those different certifications. And that doesn't even include if you add the cost of training and so on. They've streamlined the approach. First of all, no more prerequisites for any of the certifications, with the exception of CCIE. We'll talk about that in a little bit. No more prerequisites for these certifications. In addition, only 2 exams for each professional level certification. So you're going to have to take a technology core exam in that particular track, and then you get to choose which specialty exam you want to take as part of that particular process. So you'll have that option then to take those specialty exams that align with what you're trying to do in your own professional environment. Okay? Like I said, we'll get into the details of these as we kind of wrap up the second half of our discussion today. Lastly, new lifetime tenure for CCIE. If you maintain your CCIE, regardless of how many you may have, you will get emeritus status, meaning that your CCIE will no longer expire and you're no longer required to renew that CCIE through the use of continuing education or additional certifications or exams. In the past, the CCIE was actually only valid for 2 years. Now they've made it valid for 3 years with the option of continuing education, 120 credits, and or the option of taking some additional technology exams. But again, if you maintain that CCIE for, in essence, a career lifetime, I guess, 20 years is a long time, but you will no longer have to recertify. Okay? So overall, what is changing in the certification? I think we kind of hit most of the points here. This is kind of the text outline, if you will, of the graphic that we saw on the previous slide. Like I said, more consolidated, updated associate training, high-level technologist type certification. One course, one exam, covers basically the fundamental topics for all of the technologies. And then we have our specialist certifications, which will allow you to validate your particular certification skills against what you might have as part of your roles and responsibilities within your organization. Like I said, you get your choice of concentration exams at the professional level. We'll take a look at what those details are. We're going to break down each of the professional level certs at the end of our discussion for today. And we'll take a look at what each of those options are and how we're going to align our organization with those individual certifications to try and provide some tailored and custom courses for our clients as well. All right. The CCIE, of course, will be more of an end-to-end approach. They are changing the format of the CCIE itself. It used to be a 3-section format with diagnostics, config, and T-shoot. They're breaking that now down to a 2-section format. We'll see that a little bit later on. The DevNet certification, they're going to have that at the associate level, the specialist, and the professional levels. No prerequisites, as we mentioned. And continuing education is going to be an option for recertification. We don't know what the details of that are yet. Obviously, they say Cisco events like Cisco Live, official Cisco courses, and so on, but we don't really know specifically what types of credits are going to be earned and so on. We'll talk about that as well. And then, like I said, probably one of the biggest things right here, this idea that you're going to get, excuse me, sorry about that, that you're going to get badging, you know, for completing training courses, well, specifically completing exams. So you're going to take an exam and you're going to get recognized for passing that particular exam, which you can then publish. All right. So taking a look at what we came from, as you can see, there were quite a few certifications. We had CCENT at the entry level, CCNA IoT, which was industrial, CCDA, CCNA wireless, CCNA security, CCNA routing and switching, collaboration, data center, cloud, and service provider. Now, a lot of these certifications, for example, data center, collaboration, required multiple exams to be able to pass those particular certifications, and they were prerequisites to move up to the professional level. Lots of different professional level options, and then you could move up to the expert level if you so choose, although there were really no prerequisites to go to the expert level, and really kind of now there really aren't any prerequisites either. We'll talk about that in a little bit. But you can see it's a lot cleaner now. They still maintained most of the CCIE options. They've got the service provider, the data center, the enterprise, which was essentially routing and switching, and wireless combined together. That's what makes up the enterprise component. CCIE Security, CCIE Collab, and DevNet. As of right now, CCDE will still remain. Not sure what's going to happen with that certification, and the Cisco Certified Architect certification will stay the same as well as of right now. So those are going to be still available. On the professional level track, they got rid of wireless and routing and switching, and like I said, they combined those into enterprise. They maintained the CCNP Security, CCNP Collab, Data Center, and Service Provider. They got rid of design. That was also incorporated into enterprise. So those certifications still, in essence, exist as badges, but they're part of the CCNP Enterprise curriculum. And then at the specialist level, we'll talk about all the individual specialization exams that you can take. Some of the programs or some of the technology tracks have upwards of 5 or 6 or 7 different specialty exams that you can choose from to be able to get those specializations. All right, and then the all-encompassing CCNA. So it's kind of a parallel track. I would suspect, I don't know for sure because they haven't released the courseware yet, but I would suspect that all of these options on the left will still incorporate some sort of SDN component, programmability. I've certainly looked at all of the exam topics, and software-defined networking is part of those topics, but it doesn't focus necessarily on the programming aspects in detail. That's where the DevNet certification track comes from. So you can see it's a very kind of streamlined approach based on what they had in the past to what they have today, and I think it's a good change. It's going to be a little bit complicated for partners like ourselves to be able to develop curriculum that's going to meet our customers' and clients' needs, but we'll talk about that at the very end of this lesson. The other question that I get from people a lot is what happens if I'm already certified? Okay, and this is really a big topic to discuss because we do have hundreds, if not thousands, of clients that have gone through our certification training programs, have been certified over the years. Charles in the list there, hey Charles, is one of those folks. Those certifications are still going to be valid, right, until their published expiration date. So if you took those certifications 2 years ago, on February 24th, those certifications are going to be rolled over into either some sort of specialty badge or some sort of professional or associate level certification. Certainly if you have your CCNA, that's going to be rolled over into the new CCNA as of February 24th of 2020. You do not re-up at that point. If you have a year left as of February 24th, 2020, you're going to have a year left on February 25th, 2020. But you will achieve or you will receive the new CCNA certification. So I do encourage people, if they're in the process of taking it, maybe they've taken ICND 1, they're a CCENT, and now they're studying to take their CCNA. I do encourage people to go ahead and continue that pursuit and make sure that they try to go through and complete that. If not, then you just simply continue on as you move into the new certifications. One of the other things that we're actually encouraging our students to do as well is if you do have any active certifications, because we don't really know the content that's going to be available. I'm not really sure how difficult the exams are going to be or even how much they're going to cost. Cisco does say that overall the cost should be less, but that, you know, that means that what are they going to make the exams $500 instead of $300 because there's only 2 of them instead of 4? We don't know that. So we're encouraging people to at least dedicate some time to taking a certification exam, either associate level or professional level, before February 24th to re-up whatever certifications they have so that this stuff can bake for a little bit before they have to renew their certifications before they get into, they'll have, in essence, another 3 years, if you will. So let's say, for example, you complete your CCNA or you take a CCDA or something like that. You have an associate level certification. Maybe you have CCNA Wireless, maybe you have CCNA Security, CCNA Collaboration. If you take any professional level exam or any associate level exam on or before February 23rd and pass it, you're now going to have 3 years after February 24th to decide what you want to do to continue your certification progress. And that's probably a good approach to take, in my opinion. All right. Now, if you do have a CCNA Security and you have a CCNA Collaboration, CCNA Data Center, CCNA Wireless, those certifications are going away, but you will receive specialist badges for those particular certifications. They will not be at the professional level, but they will be specialist badges that will recognize what those accomplishments that you achieved. Now, after 3 years, those badges will go away. They'll be retired, and eventually you'll see them gone completely at the associate level. But at that point, Cisco hopes, and we hope, of course, that you've moved on to continue your education at the professional level. All right. So if there are Q&A components about this topic, this is the one thing that people always ask me about all the time. Certainly, that was the first thing I thought of because I have every CCNA that's available. What's going to happen to all of those certifications? They're not going away, at least initially anyway. Okay. All right, so let's talk a little bit about the tracks themselves. We're just about wrapped up here. We got a little bit more to go through here, but let's talk about the specific tracks. The CCNA Consolidation. CCNA is still going to exist, of course, but it's no longer going to have any of the separate tracks. There are multiple elements that come from those tracks from a previous certification process: wireless, security, routing and switching, and so on, network automation. They're going to be covered more broadly in this consolidated CCNA exam. No idea what the format of the exam is going to be, whether it's going to be a 90-minute exam or a 120-minute exam, how many questions it might have. There's really no information out there about that as of yet, even what that exam would cost. It's still going to be offered through Pearson VUE and Pearson VUE testing centers, and hopefully by January or so, we'll have some more information about that, and Cisco will publish that on their site. One of the things, though, I forgot to mention, unlike in the past, when Cisco has had a change in a program, they've typically had an overlap between when the old was available and when the new was available. So let's say they moved from CCNA version 2.0 to CCNA version 3.0, you had the opportunity to take the CCNA 2.0 exams up to, I'll just make up a date, September, for example. But the CCNA 3.0 exams were available in April. So there was a 3 or 4 or 5 month overlap between the old exams and the new exams. That will not exist in this particular change. The new exams will not be available. There's one exception to that, and that's in the data center track. But the new exams will not be available until February 24th, and the old exams will go away at the end of February 23rd. So there's no overlap at all between the different the changes that they're making. Okay. So this consolidated and updated CCNA is going to cover all of these entry-level networking skills across different technologies: basic IP fundamentals, network access, IP connectivity, security fundamental skills, and basic automation and network programmability. Now, if you go look at the actual the actual details of what that CCNA is going to include, it's kind of shocking. Some of the things that they've removed and some of the things that they've added. I actually have a slide that we'll talk about that in a little bit here. On the CCNP level, on the concentration exams, what they call really the technology core exams, every CCNP now is going to only consist of, or at least require that you take 2 exams. One of those exams is going to be the technology core exam for that particular technology track, whether it's enterprise, security, service provider, collaboration, or data center. And then you get to choose any one of the concentration exams in that same technology track to complete your overall certification. All right. So those technology core exams, by Cisco's definition, are going to be the foundational common concepts that are required for you to be considered a professional level engineer in those particular technologies, whether it's security or data center, collaboration, etc. The concentration exams, deep dive, very relevant to that specific technology. And then you can then choose the specialty exam that you want related to that, a chosen technological area of focus. If you're doing SD-WAN, for example, in the enterprise track, you can take an SD-WAN specialty. If you're doing enterprise wireless, you can take wireless specialty, and so on. All right. Here's another important thing, and I'll mention this later on as well, but here's another important thing about these technology core exams. They now count as the CCIE written exam. So remember I said before that none of these programs have any prerequisites per se. Well, the exception to that is there's no longer a separate CCIE written exam. The technology core exam will count towards your CCIE written. And if you do pass a technology core exam, you have 3 years to be able to schedule your lab so that you can complete your CCIE certification. So no longer do you have to go through and take that written exam. You can kind of kill two birds with one stone by taking that technology core exam at the professional level and then focus on doing your lab portion whenever you're prepared for that. All right. A technology core exam, like I said, one of the two exams that required, and that's a duplicate slide. So kind of duplicate. Let me, the first few bullet points there are duplicate. Let's go to the last 3 bullet points. For DevNet professional, there is one DevNet core exam as well. If you pass the technology core exam in any particular track, you have 3 years from that pass date to pass one of the concentration exams in that track, or if you're deciding just simply to go on to the CCIE, to pass the lab exam in that particular track as well. Technology core exam does not count if you want to do, say, for example, CCIE wireless. You can't take the enterprise core exam and have that qualify you for the CCIE wireless lab exam. Not wireless, security, excuse me. Wireless doesn't exist. But so it does have to be within the track that the core exam sits within. So security, data center, collaboration, etc. But like I said, that same written exam is going to serve as the core exam for that CCNP certification as well as the CCIE certification. Okay? Now, for those of you that have done your professional level certifications, there are some tools. I'm not going to go through all of these, but I will show you a couple of them. Some migration tools that are available at the professional level. Really no migration tools at the associate level, because the only migration is that you're going to get the old, if you have the old CCNA, you're going to get the new CCNA. But if you just go out to Cisco.com and you search on CCNP migration tool, you can choose which one you would like to look at. The tools are specialized for each of the tracks, each of the technology tracks that existed in the old certification. We'll go under CCNP migration tools, and let's say, for example, routing and switching, very, very common certification. Of course, to give you a lot of information about these tools, or the certification, but the CCNP routing and switching consisted of 3 different exams. So route would mean that that you would have to take the core exam. So route by itself is not going to give you any particular specialty, but if you combine that with switch, you will get a Cisco Certified Specialist badge in Enterprise Core. All right, I'm guessing most likely that's going to be the advanced routing one, but I'm not sure exactly. We'll talk about the different specialties that exist. And then if you've completed your CCNP route switch, you'll get specialty badges, which could include actually more than one, and you'll get an advanced infrastructure implementation badge, but you're going to get your enterprise core certification. And actually, if I take off T-Shoot here, you will receive your enterprise core certification if you have not taken T-Shoot, but you've taken route and switch, which is actually not bad, actually, because that's T-Shoot exam tends to be one of the more difficult exams in the certification track. So each one of these CCNPs is going to have an option for migration, and you can, of course, go and look at each one of these. Let's say I have a wireless certification. Wireless required that you took 4 different exams. So wireless design would give you the specialist enterprise wireless design, which happens to fall under enterprise core. Wireless deploy won't give you any additional certifications. If you want to get your CCNP Enterprise, you would have to take the Enterprise Core exam. T-Shoot will give you an additional specialty, which is the Enterprise Wireless Implementation. That's also under Enterprise Core. And then Y-Secure will give you your Enterprise Core exam. So if you do have a CCNP Wireless, you will get your CCNP Enterprise Core certification with those 2 specialties. That's why I've encouraged people, if they're going through the process or if they've started the process of getting certified, that they go and complete that process, because they could end up getting a 2-for-1 or a 3-for-1 certification in the end. Implementing edge security, you're going to get the web content security, which is one of the specialties under security. If you take essentially the ICE course, you're going to get security, identity management, and mobility solutions. You'll get VPNs. These are all specialties that fall under security core. And then if you do have your CCNP security, you will actually get these 5 different certifications as part of the your certification moving forward on February 24th. So some of these certifications certainly have a lot more weight as far as what you're going to get after the changeover date, but it just depends on which exams you've completed as part of that process. All right. Now, as far as the CCIE lab goes, the lab itself is also changing. It's going to look at the whole life cycle approach of design, deploying, operating, and optimizing, part of that PPDIO process that Cisco always pushes. Prepare, plan, implement, operate, and optimize. Prepare, plan, design, implement, operate, and optimize, I should say. And the lab itself, like I said, is going to go from a 3-module format, still an 8-hour exam, to a 2-module format where you have a design component, you have deploy, operate, and optimize as part of that as well. And of course, software-defined networking is going to be part of that, and DevNet concepts, even though it's not going to be focused on DevNet, some DevNet concepts will exist in that certification process. All right. Automation, network programmability, it's going to be kind of integrated, if you will, which is not something that's in the CCIE version right now for routing and switching, but the automation and programmability concepts are ubiquitous across all the tracks, so you will certainly see some of those elements in each one of those certification tracks moving forward. Okay. The lab qualifications, if you currently have an active CCNP, you will actually get your CCNP Enterprise Core or Security or whatever it might be, and you do not have to retake the core exam to qualify for the CCIE. You will have 3 years from the date you obtained your CCNP, even if it falls after the February 24th deadline, to take the lab. If you've obtained the equivalent of a technology core exam in a specific track, you will have 3 years from the date you last passed that technology core equivalent exam, even if you're grandfathered in to take the CCIE lab in the same track. After the 3 years have lapsed, you have to pass a technology core exam again in whatever track you're interested in to be able to qualify to take the CCIE lab. All right, now as far as the CCIE lab exams, there are CCNPs for each of those technology cores. Those will exist moving forward. If there is a CCNP level certification, there's going to be a CCIE equivalent in the future beyond February 24th. All right, just as an example, if you've passed, say, for example, route and switch and passed switch, say, for example, on September 23rd, you took route before that, you're going to have until September 24th of 2022 to take your enterprise lab exam, because you will have your enterprise core certification at that point. And the 3-year window does not restart after the February 24th date. Okay, so what is DevNet? Cisco's developer program, which helps developers and IT professionals who want to write applications, develop integrations with Cisco products, platforms, and APIs. Obviously, that came directly from Cisco's website. But it includes things like software-defined networking, cloud computing, data center, mobility, IoT, collaboration, open source software development, including open source scripting languages and programming languages like JSON and REST, APIs, and so on. If you go to developer.cisco.com, that's available now. There's a lot of resources. That's the DevNet site for Cisco, if you haven't seen that before. You can actually get access to a lot of training material, lab access, sandboxing environments where you can actually reserve equipment and play around with different DevNet technologies. and it's all free of charge. All right, you just have to kind of schedule it and play around with it. Obviously, we know that Cisco has announced or is announcing new DevNet certifications at the associate level, professional level, and eventually the expert level, focused on those software developers that are looking at specifically network automation and programmability. So we'll go ahead and wrap up our discussion today by doing a real quick deep dive into two different topics, each of the different programs, and then we'll, so we got probably another 15 minutes or so left. The CCNA 200-301, implementing and administering Cisco solutions. I just put a couple of bullet points here because I thought it was really interesting. Modules that they've added, things like network fundamentals, certainly routing, switching, cabling, TCP, UDP, IPv4, v6. Yeah, those exist. But if you notice the stuff that they removed from network fundamentals, the OSI model. No more 7-layer discussion, TCP IP model. I would imagine that it's just going to be protocol specific and protocol focused. We don't necessarily need to know each of the 7 layers independently. For IP connectivity, it was very interesting because NTP, Network Time Protocol, DHCP, QoS, these were topics that were generally covered in CCNA as it is today. Maybe not so much on the QoS side, very little QoS and very little SNMP, although it was discussed. But if you look at the stuff that they removed, EIGRP, for example, RIP version 2, OSPF v3, which is OSPF for IPv6, inter-VLAN routing. These were core concepts in the original CCNA that they've decided to remove. And the most interesting thing about that, of course, is that EIGRP is Cisco's routing protocol. So they're going to focus on open standard. I did see some discussion that BGP also is something that has that was normally discussed, DMVPN, stuff like that. PPPoE, something that is heavily covered on the current version of the CCNA, is going to go away. And good riddance as far as I'm concerned. You know, so there's some big changes at the associate level. Probably the biggest thing that they're adding, certainly VLANs and trunking, that was always something that was covered in this current CCNA Ether channel. But the automation and programmability piece, REST APIs, Puppet, Chef, JSON, SDN, software-defined networking, these are big, big topics. You know, I don't know how much in depth Cisco is going to require from you at the associate level for these particular topics, but certainly they're going to be discussed. And it should be very interesting to see how that change kind of manifests itself in the new curriculum. At the professional level, CCNP Enterprise, which essentially, like I said, is replacing CCNP Route Switch, as well as CCNP Wireless, and CCDP, is now called CCNP Enterprise. 350-401 is going to be the core exam. These are clickable links if you go to Cisco's website, and you can see the exam topics listed there. And then these are the specialties. So you've got essentially 6 different specialties. Now, if I was to equate what the current CCNP routing and switching would look like in comparison to your core and your specialty, I would say this exam and this advanced routing exam would mirror, in essence, what you would see in the current CCNP routing and switching architecture, because that's advanced routing and services, as well as technology core, which is going to include a lot of routing concepts and switching concepts. Something that's new, SD-WAN, a very specialized component. I would imagine, we don't know this yet, but I would imagine that each of these specialty courses is going to be offered as a 5-day course. And we'll talk about how Think Tank is going to align itself with these different certifications at the end here. This is your equivalent to CCDP, Designing Enterprise Networks. And then you have your CCNP Wireless component, which is designing Cisco Enterprise Wireless and implementing Cisco Enterprise Wireless Networks. And then finally, your network automation component, which probably is not, again, as much in depth as the DevNet piece, but it certainly does discuss quite a bit about network automation. So like I said, the technology core, this would also count towards your CCIE, but you would need +1 down in any of these concentration exams. And as you move forward, you can apply or take one of these concentration exams. That'll count towards your recertification, but it will also earn you a specialty badge. Every single one of these exams will earn you a specialty badge once you've completed them. CCNP Security, you've got the core exam, and then you've got some of what I see align with what we had in the previous CCNP Security. For example, SISE is very similar to the security course that Cisco has called SISAS, which is part of the old CCNP security track. This is Cisco ICE. And then we had Edge Security Solutions, so the SITCS course, which is part of the old CCNP track, would kind of align with ESA and WSA email security appliance and web security appliance. And then you had your SIMOS, which was your mobility solutions that would kind of align with your VPN course. So, and then the firewall course would be SENSS, implementing edge network security solutions. So Cisco has kind of aligned or mapped, if you will, these different certifications, these different concentration exams with what they have in the current certification process. I'm certainly not suggesting they're going to simply carry over those courses and move them into this track and rename them, but you're going to see a lot of common elements from those older courses kind of incorporated into these courses as well. On the collaboration side, which is voice, video, and integrated data, you're going to have your core exam. Collaboration applications would be things like telepresence, Cisco Unity, UCCX, Contact Center Express, those kinds of things. And then you have your advanced call control and mobility services. So, intelligent WAN dialing services, gatekeeper functionality, gateway configuration, that kind of thing. And cloud and edge solutions. Cisco is making a big push to move collaboration to the cloud. So that's going to incorporate a lot of those discussions, I would imagine. And as we see from the previous two, another automation component. So automation is going to be kind of a common thread throughout each of these different technologies. If automation is not your cup of tea, you don't have to worry about it, because you can then take a specialty exam or a concentration exam in something that's more applicable to what you're doing in your environment. CCNP Data Center, we've got the core as well. DCID, I should say, designing and troubleshooting. That's kind of a holdover from the current data center certification track. And then you can see actually this exam is available now. DCACI, application-centric infrastructure. This course was actually kind of mostly carried over from a previous data center course that was available, and so on. So again, one technology core exam, one concentration exam to achieve your CCNP data center. Finally, the DevNet Professional. A lot of choices here. You've got the core, and then you have a whole slew of DevOps options that you have for network automation. Mostly focused on DNA. You'll notice that implementing automation for Cisco Enterprise, for Cisco Collaboration, for Cisco Data Center Solutions. If you go back, the automation for Cisco Collaboration Solutions 300-835 is still part of this certification track. So it's kind of a unique approach in that you could actually take one of those specialties or those concentration exams for CCNP core certification or CCNP Enterprise or security, whatever it might be, and choose to take the specialty for that particular track on software automation and DevNet, and then come back and take your core exam, Dev Core exam, and you can get your DevNet Professional certification with, in essence, 3 different exams, as opposed to taking 4 or 5 or 6 or 7 different exams. So that's an interesting option. Okay. What about recertification? In the past, recertification was fairly limited as to what you could do. In the past, it was pretty much just one thing. take an exam. With the exception of CCIE, you simply had to take an exam at that level or a level above, and you would renew for additional years. Now you get continuing education. We don't know how much is going to be applied for each of these events. Cisco hasn't really published that information with regard to what you can actually, how many credits you can earn for, say, attending Cisco Live or creating course content or exam content, doing some sort of online authorized training or instructor-led training. But all of them have to renew within 3 years, including the specialties themselves. In the past, specialties were only valid for 2 years, and professional career certifications were valid for 3 years. Now everything is 3 years. So we'll go through the details here. At the associate level, notice the duration here is 3 years for each one of these. At the associate level, if you do achieve your CCNA certification, pass any associate exam, which is CCNA again, pass any professional level concentration exam, or pass a technology core exam or a CCIE lab, you will renew your associate certification. So that's very similar to what Cisco offers today. If you have an associate level certification, pass any associate level, professional level, or CCIE level exam, and you'll renew those certifications. But that's an option there as well. You don't have to do any of those things if you can earn 30 continuing education credits within the 3-year span. So you can continue to re-up your CCNA without having to take another course. Specialist certifications, again, any one of those concentration exams within each of the tracks, pass any one professional concentration exam on any track, any technology core exam on any track, CCIE lab, so pretty much the same. Exception is you don't get to do the associate, and that will require 40 CEs. This will be across the board, by the way. If you have 5 or 6 or 7 or 8 different specialties, you renew them all at once. They re-up at the same time. So you don't have to do this per specialty. You do this, and this will apply to any specialties that you might have. Professional level certification. The specialty exams do not count unless you take 2 of them, the concentration exams, 1 core exam, 1 lab exam, or you have an option. You can do any professional concentration exam plus 40 CEs, or you can just simply go out and earn 80 credits over that 3-year span, and you can renew your certification that way. Again, it doesn't matter which professional level cert you have. It could be any professional level cert. If you have 3 or 4 of them, they would all fall under the same umbrella for renewal. You don't have to earn 80 credits for each of them. At the CCIE, pass any expert level certification exam. Not sure what they mean by that actually, because there are no expert level certification exams anymore. They're all technology core exams. So I'm not sure if that means if you pass a technology core that you'll renew your CCIE. I haven't been able to get an answer for that. Certainly if you retake the lab and pass it. 3 professional concentration exams, or pass 1 technology and 1 professional concentration exam, which would qualify you, of course, for a CCNP, would renew your CCIE as well. This was not an option in the past. If you wanted to renew your CCIE, you had to take a CCIE written exam, or you had to retake the lab, or you could do some form of continuing education. You need 120 credits if that's the only option, and then you can see kind of the combinations of whether you're doing examination and credits and so on. All right? So the last thing we'll talk about, we'll wrap this up, is what is Think Tank going to do, right? Think Tank, of course, we're a training company, IT training company, and one of the things that we've always done in the past is we've always kind of developed custom curriculum to allow students to earn their certifications in a unique environment. For example, our CCNP routing and switching program is only 9 days. As opposed to taking 3 separate 5-day courses, we offer CCNP Route Switch as a 9-day training camp, long hours, lots of studying, lots of work, but after the 9 days, you've completed your certification. So what we've done is we've tried to kind of take a look at what we think are some of the things that students are going to be interested in combining together to achieve their certifications, rather than us just simply go out and offer each of these 5 courses, or each of these courses as 5-day courses, I should say. We basically have a guiding principle around certification, and it kind of aligns with what Cisco is saying, is that we want to make sure that we understand what the students are looking for, and we want to make sure that the training that we provide is going to be relevant to those individuals, and it's going to align with Cisco's goals. And that's what's going to lead to that value. CCNA is pretty straightforward. That's going to be offered as a 5-day course, as it is today, implementing and administering Cisco solutions. In the CCNP Enterprise space, we actually have kind of put together a couple of different programs. We believe that as a 9-day program, most people are going to be interested in doing their core exam as well as the advanced routing and services exam. Basically, that's very similar to the CCNP route switch that you see today. So we're going to offer that as a 9-day course, 4 days of 350-401 and 4 days of 350-410. There's a little bit of overlap between those topics. And that will allow the individual to achieve their enterprise core certification and also get the specialty for advanced routing and services. If we have individuals that are interested specifically in the wireless component, we're going to offer a 9-day course that focuses on those 2 specialties, designing Cisco Enterprise Wireless Networks and implementing Cisco Enterprise Wireless Networks, which will then allow you to earn those 2 specialties. And by the way, if somebody's interested in adding the 4 days here for the core, they can do that as well. Any one of these courses, the students will have an option to attend either half of this program or the full program, depending on what their interests are. We also want to offer the design track as well, very similar to what we offer today with CCDP as a specialty. This will be a standard 5-day course, 300-420, which will allow our candidates and clients to be able to get their design specialty. On the collaboration side, we feel like the 2 courses that complement each other the most, of course, is the core exam and then implementing Cisco collaboration applications. Those 2 together will provide a solid foundation in Cisco collaboration. And then on the security side, we do plan on adding some of the other specialties here, but we're not going to roll that out initially. On the security side, we feel, and I think this is reflected by some of the surveys that we've asked our students as well, is certainly the core exam, always the core exam, 350-701, but SISE, which is the Identity Services Engine course, very, very popular course today. It's a technology that's been widely adopted by most of our clients. We think that that's a good combination of those 2 courses to allow students to achieve their CCNP security certification. In addition, we took the 2 edge-based security courses. We're going to call this CCNP Security Edge. So email and web security appliance. We're going to combine those 2 courses together in a 9-day course. So if you're inclined to focus on edge security as a specialist, you'll be able to take those courses together as a combined course. And then we're going to offer the firepower course separately. I would imagine that they're going to be developing some additional courseware here as well. This is a very popular topic. We'll offer that as a 5-day course. And then we're going to also offer the VPN specialty as a 5-day course. So those will be kind of one-offs, little separate certification courses that individuals will be able to take. Okay. On the data center side, we're going to focus on the core exam as well, and then the design component. I think those are 2 courses that really complement each other on the data center side, give you a very thorough understanding of data center implementation. That'll be a 9-day course, and then we'll offer the troubleshooting course as a separate 5-day course as well. All right. So that's it, folks. Hopefully that answered a lot of questions that you have. I'm going to open up the floor here to anybody that might have any additional questions. certainly drop some in the chat window there. You can also send information to myself or Derek. Most of you have their contact information. Do we have any questions? Any comments? All right. Well, guys, we will go ahead and make this recording available today. We're going to render the video today and publish it. So you guys will have that shortly. Please pass it around. We do have several courses scheduled, as you guys are probably aware, CCNP as well as CCNA. Over the next couple of months, we're really trying to get a push forward to get people with their certifications completed before February 24th. So please check with Derek or check on our website, thinktanklearning.com, and you can go out and see what kind of courses we have available. We've got actually a CCNA coming up on December 8th. We have a CCNP and a CCNA course scheduled for January, and it looks like we'll probably have one for February as well. All right. So thanks for taking time out of your day to join us, and we'll see you on the next webinar.